Invitational team versus invitational team. It's finally time for an even matchup on the Lions tour. We're looking at a team with Brandon Pyang-Ramosa against a team with James Ryan. Do you think this is going to be the game of the tour?
Yes, but largely because, well, in a way, the game's gone, right? Because there's something really shocking that's
There is
happened
woke
here.
nonsense.
There is something extremely woke. I don't know if you know what I'm about to refer to.
There
here,
is woke nonsense in this
But
team.
do you know what I'm about to refer to?
I believe I might.
Because there is a clear bit of Geography 6 that's going on right here, in that the AU NZ team have clearly brought in an Englishman who is playing in this game, just trying to get on the Lions tour, hoping that he can injure his opposite man and Hoskins Tutu can start as an Englishman in the first test next week. It's clearly the only reason why he's playing this game, so he's in the same stadium as the Lions. And so after the game, he can sneak off. He can do a jersey swap with somebody and he can sneak into the dressing room and try and get onto the team bus and see if no one notices. Like, wait. And, you know, Farrell in the morning, on the next day, does the register of all the Lions players, and he's like, "Yeah, Pierre, yeah, here, Mr. Farrell. All right, Luke, yeah, here, Mr. Farrell." And then at the end, someone's like, "Why didn't you say my name? I'm Hoskins." And it's like, wait, we didn't have a Hoskins here, but I guess I just forgot to write your name down. Hoskins, I guess you're in, mate. You're in the team.
So, with that in mind, that definitely happening on Sunday morning?
It's happening.
Monday morning, maybe? We now have a fixture between the British and Irish Lions and a AU NZ 15. Should we start with the Lions team?
Yeah.
Because they have named a team that feels very much like they have... Andy Farrell has flipped the weekend kind of usual system we talk about, and this does feel like a weaker team than we've seen on the Wednesdays. However, there's still a lot of players who are looking to prove a point ahead of that first test.
I think
the game after this.
There's potentially 2 or 3 units that you look at and go, they are looking to get in the test team. Particularly the centres. Obviously, on the weekend we saw, the Wednesday we saw Archie and Ringrose really put a stamp down and played really, really well and put in a huge audition for the test team. However, you forget, it was less than a week ago that we were looking at Hugh Jones scoring 2 tries off Tuipulotu, giving him short balls and so on. So that is a genuine opportunity. That one's genuinely on a knife edge, the centres selection. I feel like he's going to go for, as I said before, one or the other in terms of a tried and tested combo. And yeah, it's a proper audition for those centres.
Yeah.
As well as that, you've got at fullback, Hugo Keenan.
Yeah.
With the injury to Blair Kinghorn, he has to play well. Because if there's a question mark over Kinghorn and Keenan's played well, Farrell won't hesitate to go, "Brilliant, Hugo, you're straight in."
Yeah. I think there's a couple of other players who have a very good chance at the test team who can slide their way in. Jack Morgan, who I think has ended up in this team because they want to have a look at Tom Curry as a 7 because he's only played 6 on the tour so far. So Morgan gets another go at 7. I wondered whether they might have a look at him as a 6 because he plays 6 and 8 for the Ospreys. You know, he plays most of rugby at 6 for the Ospreys because Justin Tipperic's at 7 and no one would ever move him for anything.
And basically every back row in this squad can play 7.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So he has remained at 7. He is very much in that hunt as a 7 in Farrell's eyes, purely as a 7. And Mack Hansen also, I think, has a real chance to get himself in the test team. I think Freeman is the favourite, but I think Mack Hansen has a decent shout at it.
Yeah, he has to play very, very well. The pair of those players you've just mentioned have to play very, very well. But as well as that, you've got a lot of players who are probably up for bench spots, you know. You look at Henry Pollock was excellent on the weekend. Ben Earl is somebody I could really see as an impact player off the bench. I think that'll be a huge role for the Lions. And yeah, you mentioned Jack Morgan a minute ago. Like, he has to play well here. That getting one man on the match on this tour isn't enough to get yourself in the test team.
Sure.
You know, that you have to do more than that and go the extra mile. So I think that, there's a lot of players in this team who there's a little bit of pressure on that they could then get the 7-day turnaround of the first test, which is what they want.
Marcus Smith has still not played 10 on the Lions. He's not had a single start at 10 before the first test.
I don't get it. It's really giving. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, and you spend the whole thing just sat on the bench for Finn Smith and Finn Russell, just not getting on. It's just like, why have they taken him? It's just, is he just there as a tackle bag holder?
I wonder if it changed a bit because he ended up playing so much on Wednesday, and they changed it because he played most of the game. I don't know, but It feels very odd that he hasn't got a single start at 10. He hasn't won the 10 jersey once on this tour.
It's just, A, why do it with any player? Take
Yeah.
them on a Lions tour to just string them along and just leave them on the bench the whole time. But B, why do it with Marcus Smith in particular?
And I think the thing is, right, Farrell has probably gone. The role I see Marcus Smith filling in the Test series is impact player coming off the bench, perhaps changing things in that 10 jersey, or 10 position rather.
Yeah.
Yet you haven't had a chance for him to stake a claim of being the starter. I can only imagine how frustrated he is. I can only imagine, like, you're probably begging for that. Like, he's been on the bench an awful lot. He's played a decent number of games, but he hasn't played that many minutes.
No. And yeah, he's
And
been
even
a
few
lot.
of them at 10. Like, he's really only played 10 once for about half an hour. He's probably had like 30 to 40 minutes of fly half.
Yeah, he's had 2 games where he's come on at fly half.
Yeah.
But he's not really had a proper opportunity to show what he can do there. And I don't know, I'm just
Both of those
frustrated.
games were decided by the time he got to that.
Yeah, I'm just frustrated on the guy's behalf because once again, like, if a member of the back three goes off injured in this game, right, Hugo Keenan is either going off or moving to the wing and they're putting Marcus to fullback again. And we're in the same position because the other guy on the bench, we might as well talk about this now, is Owen Farrell.
This is the woke nonsense.
He's in the 23 jersey, and so he'll be in there as a centre. However, once again, if a back three player gets injured, they could just put him on at 10 instead and move Marcus to the back. And a lot of people will be... I've seen a lot of people who are really angry that Farrell's in the squad. And it's like, well, he's been called up. Of course they're going to try and use him a bit.
Yeah.
And he'll probably start the midweek game between tests 1 and 2 because that's how you best rest people and use the bodies that you have in your squad. But I don't know. I mean, Owen Farrell's a brilliant player and we did a whole video on why he deserves to be on this tour.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different thing and I hope he comes on and plays well.
Add something off the bench.
Yeah.
Like, I think, obviously, he's not a player you normally think of coming on in a game that potentially could be going one way or the other.
Especially
You
as a
think
centre.
typically coming on in tight games
Yeah.
if he's going to change something off the bench. But I think we could see him come on and you slot him into that 12 jersey, you potentially take Sione off, and you have a look at what he can bring as a playmaker, have a look at whether he is an option potentially going into those tests, or whether you want to look at a different kind of player, because you've kind of got two very similar 12s in Tuipulotu and Arki, and two very similar 13s in Ringrose and Jones. And like, they're not very, very similar, but you get the idea. Like, they're in a similar mould. Then Farrell's something completely different to all of those. So there's a good chance to look at him and have a look at something different.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
See what happens when he comes on, because he might not be very good, but he might play brilliantly. And if he does, then he could potentially throw a spanner in the works in a good way.
Speaking of not being very good, right? Duhan van der Merwe has a real point to prove here.
He does,
because
doesn't he?
He has been playing not very well.
For a world-class player.
Yeah.
Like, he's incredible. We both love Duhan.
Yeah,
Like,
this is...
he so deserves to be on this tour. But beforehand, you're looking at him and going, well, he could so easily be in the test team. He's really, like, pressuриses James Lowe because he brings the opposite to James Lowe. But he's just not played that well on this tour.
This is the biggest flop I can remember of a player of his calibre on a Lions tour.
Yeah.
Like, he has just not clicked at all. And it happens every tour, right? There's always one or two guys, and I think Pierre Schumann, maybe you can make the argument of this with, who you go in and you're like, he can make the test team. He could be it.
Yeah.
And instead, he's been fine. He's been all right.
Ty Byrne, you can make that argument with. I think some of the other second rows have shot above him when he was expected to be the starting vice captain.
And he still
in the
might
tests.
be.
He still might be.
And I think, but yeah, Duhan has just felt like a flop. And then you look at his last game and he was trying much too hard. He ran his touch like 3 times.
Yeah.
And just because he was trying to hit people on the outside when he wasn't an option, because he looked frustrated, he looked like he was, you know, kind of done with this and just wanted to prove a point. And I think he needs to forget about the pressure and forget about trying to get in the test team and just play, you know, this
When
week.
he isn't overthinking, he's a better player.
Yeah.
When all he does is catch the ball and run forward and beat defenders, honestly, he's a 10 times better player.
Yeah.
Now, test rugby's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's, especially when you look at the AU NZ team, they will try and target him, especially with the kicking game, as pretty much every club team that's come up against him so far has done, as Argentina did. You know, everybody who's come up against him has gone, well, we can slightly get in the air above him, which is so weird because I thought he'd sorted this out on the last tour, and evidently there's little creaks to it. And the thing is, rugby's
But I
an
think it's a
ever-changing
little
game,
bit
isn't
of
it?
positioning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than like his actual ability to take a high ball improved enormously on the last tour.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's his. I guess his jumping in the air. Obviously, there are more athletic wingers who get above him.
We've talked an awful lot about individuals in this Lions team, but I think that's honestly what matters this weekend.
Yeah.
I think
Agreed.
in terms of a game plan cohesion point of view, that doesn't really matter because this won't be the bones of the test team, right?
No.
And this is our last game before the tests. These players, broadly, like Ben White and Finn Smith, will not be the test halfback combo, right? So if they don't click, it's not the end of the world.
I'm delighted for Ben White getting
Me too,
a start,
me too.
though.
I'm glad he's getting a
It's
go.
about time.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's been brilliant for Scotland the whole time. I think he did very well off the bench when he came on the other week. Weirdly, Alex Mitchell's still been a part of every single game of this tour. And he probably will be on every single game because I imagine they're not going to stick Gibson Park on the bench for the game between tests 1 and 2, the midweek one.
First
So
Nations game.
yeah, so I'd imagine Alex Mitchell's just in it for the Longhorn out.
Yeah.
Unless, it'd be hilarious in the third test if they just went and started Ben White instead.
Northampton better give him a long time off. They better give him a little lie down after this.
Yeah, he's been a great Lion. I've really, really enjoyed Alex Mitchell.
I wouldn't be...
And more importantly, our mums warmed to Alex Mitchell over the tour and said, I really I like the way he's been playing. I think he's been entertaining and he's given it everything he's got and he's worked really hard and he deserves to lie down, and I agree with her.
Yeah, no, he very much does. I wouldn't be too worried, and I think there will probably be, right, if the Lions come out in this game and they are similar to a week ago against the Waratahs, they win, but they're a bit sloppy and things don't quite click. There'll be a lot written about, they're heading into the first test, are they any good? I don't think any of that matters.
You're looking at a different set of players.
You're looking at a different set of
mostly.
players. Yes, they're playing the same game plan, but you've got to learn it and execute it. And Farrell probably has locked away that team from Wednesday. They're getting 8 hours off. They're getting a few hours sleep. And then he's going to lock them in a gulag where they're running those moves over and over again. And they're doing every line-out variation and they're getting up to speed. And on Sunday morning, Jack Morgan and Sione and Hugh Jones will all come in and Mack Hansen, the ones that are in contention, will all join them and they'll all just continue in that gulag running and running and running until the captain's run on Friday. Then they'll go out and they'll play the Wallabies. And I think they are just locked away, practicing separately and getting that cohesion in. Allowing for this team to go and play in their stead and a few players to prove a point. I do not think anything from a Lions point of view, obviously the result matters because it always does, but really from a performance point of view, you look at individual performances rather than team performance.
It's momentum,
that's an incredibly
isn't it?
rare thing to be talking about.
Yeah, it's just momentum rather than anything particularly deep apart from those few players. By the way, I see you in the comments who's just typed Mack Hansen crying laughing emoji 3 times, right? Yeah, he didn't have the best game against the Waratahs, but much the same as I said about Jack Morgan, one man of the match performance doesn't get you in the test team. One bad performance doesn't take you out of contention entirely, because I think Mack Hansen is an excellent player who's played well on tour, and sure, Derby Lancaster played better than him in that game, but if he plays extremely well on Saturday, who knows, he could be back in contention. All it takes is Tommy Freeman to drop a few balls in test 1 and Mack Hansen could be in by test 2. You never know what could happen.
Right. Farrell has called Mack Hansen into the press conference alongside him instead of Itoje twice on this tour. Right?
He's a good lad.
Interview with him for the Lions directly. The two of them clearly get on incredibly well. They've got an incredibly close relationship.
Mack Hansen's got a tattoo of Andy Farrell.
Yeah. Farrell trusts him in a way he probably only trusts 3 or 4 other players on this tour. So
imagine Darcy Graham got that tattoo instead.
But yeah, Mack Hansen is he's got a really good shot at that test team regardless. Just him and Farrell's relationship and the fact he trusts him. And also he's the type of player he likes as a winger and someone that plays the ball and, we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? Let's talk about the Anzac team.
Yes.
So we have a combined invitational team of New Zealand and Australian players. What does this mean for Australian-New Zealand relations in a wider geopolitical sense?
I'd imagine it means that suddenly all of the New Zealander players coming in and English players coming into the AU NZ team will be talking about, well, I really, really wish you luck for the test team, and it will be the most rugby values thing that you've seen in a long time, and they'll be shaking hands and Bill Beaumont will be creaming himself. Apart from Oscar Tutu, who wants Australia to lose the test team, test series, obviously.
Jacinda Ardern on the press tour for her book, not including the team. She skipped this one. What do you think this means for the future of rugby union in New Zealand?
It is woke. Anyway, the team, so they've got a handful of players who've already...
It's a mad team.
Played the Lions on this tour.
Yeah.
And then a few just superstars who've been parachuted in. And I love it. The one thing it's missing is Richie Mo'onga was meant to be in this team, and he's been ruled out with injury.
Love and respect to Tain Edmund, right? You are not Richie Mo'onga.
No. I think Tain Edmund is a very good replacement.
He's a very fun guy to have in his stead.
Yeah. And I think he will view this in a proper Barbars fashion. of we are going to chuck the ball about and we do not care if we make mistakes. We are going to back our skill set the whole time. Especially because Edmed is the sort of player who loves like a little chip over the top or a bit of a Hail Mary pass or a little bit of a run for a kind of half break, right? And the players he's got around him really, really suit that. At 12, co-captaining the team, he has David Havili, who is a phenomenal player, a All Black regular, and his skill set in terms of both carrying the ball and just his passing ability and his kicking ability are all phenomenal.
Yeah, Tane Edmund was a guy born to play seconds rugby and have a few pints afterwards and not take it very seriously. And yet he somehow got so good that he's playing for the Wallabies and he has a cap. He just it was a complete
accidentally went pro.
Yeah.
Could have gone amateur, had really functional legs.
Yeah. But yeah, Lamarpe comes in at 13. I say comes in like they've played a game before. The other thing to look out for, right, is their kit. Have you seen their kit?
No, I haven't.
It looks like an unlicensed team on Rugby Challenge.
Oh, yes.
It is the most Rugby Challenge jersey I've ever seen. Right down to the logo, looks like it was designed by the people from the Rugby Challenge, like bloody she designing it. Like, it is an outstandingly made up
I really hope when
kit.
they score, it plays that dun 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 in the stadium. That would be really, really
Do you think
good.
all the glitches from Rugby Challenge will apply to this game?
Yeah, they should do that one where they go for the number 8 pick and go, but you swap the position and you send the winger into the try line, and he just goes long and they just swap positions and you score.
The number 8 just generates on the try line.
Yeah, they should do that one.
That's my favourite glitch.
Good set play.
You say that like it's a relatable thing. Like
no, yeah.
We probably found that glitch and no one else in the world has.
It's
worth doing on the Rugby Challenges, playing two players, right?
This is the sort of analysis you come for.
Yeah, and so one of you will be controlling the scrum. The other one, just get them to the winger to run down to the try line. Then go for a number 8.
Pause the game.
Swap
the number 8 and the winger's positions, or the 9 and the winger's positions.
Yeah.
And then pick the ball up.
Pick the ball up as the number 8, and he'll just appear on the try line. And you just grab it.
It's great. They just swap positions literally. It's real funny. Anyway, back to the real rugby that we're playing here. So as I say, David Havili. I'd imagine they will go similarly to what the Lions like to do. Is they will go from 9 to 12. With 13 running short and 10 coming out the boot of that. I'd imagine that will give Edmed, again, loads of time to make decisions, similar to what we always talk about with Finn Smith.
Yeah.
Because Havili's really, really good at the line at making the correct decisions. Lamarpe, an outstanding short runner and a really strong physical carrier. Now, there's a phenomenon in rugby that I really, really enjoy, which is when you watch the Japanese Rugby League 1 highlights all the time, and you watch, they do that thing where they post, the top 5 tries of the week, and you see this try that's absolutely mental, right? It's every single week this happens. There's a try that's mental, where you see a 7 who, steps 10 people at once, flips the ball behind his back, the 9, runs and does a goose step, and then flicks it inside, and then the 15 steps 11 people, does an overhead pass, then Marika Colombete catches the ball and rounds 5 people and dives in the corner, and it's the most beautiful try ever, and then you go, wait a second, that's fucking Marika, what's he doing here? And that is happening in this game because they've called in Marika Colombete to play on the left wing. One of the most entertaining players of the last decade is going to play against the Lions. How do we feel?
I am so glad he's getting a chance to play against the Lions. Didn't get the chance, obviously, in 2013, and wouldn't have got another chance because his Wallaby career is most likely over.
Yeah.
Has been playing
so sad.
Pretty well in Japan, He's scoring plenty of tries. Very decent try return rate, even if people are saying, there's all sorts of reports about Marika. But he is, as you say, one of the most entertaining players we've seen in modern rugby history.
And if Derby Lancaster coming around Mack Hansen like he did, what could Marika do to him?
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
It's the critical thing about Marika, right? And the thought of him against Duhan is very fun in a baller all-star game. Marika is a guy who critically has now got into his, mid-30s and has never been overcoached. And so many players, that instinct to go on the outside, as we talked about with Duhan, sometimes maybe he does need to be coached a bit more. But to go on the outside or try and beat a man or whatever is taken out of you. And Marika, that never happened. No one ever coached him too much. And his instincts remain. And those are the key things, because his instincts are better than the best coach in the world's instincts. And I'm so excited to see him get a go. Hopefully he gets some space. I've got a horrible feeling he might not, but we have seen on this tour so many wingers get game time where they have been exceptional against the Lions, right?
Yeah.
Corey Toole, Derby Lancaster, Dylan Peach, all brilliant. for the opposition.
And the link man in the middle of all of this, I never thought I'd see a link up between Malika Kolombete and Sean Stevenson.
Yeah.
Like, Sean Stevenson is phenomenal, unbelievable footwork, has played for the All Blacks now as well, which is long, long overdue. There's plenty of All Blacks in this team, to be fair, as well. Like, you've got Folau Fakatava at 9, who's a really good, like, abrasive 9. You've got Shannon Frizzell, who we don't like, at Screech Towers.
I hope falls over.
Yes, I agree.
Don't want to wish injury on a player, but I hope he falls over.
I hope he falls over. You've got Jeff Tumonga Allen on the tight end, who of course played for the Reds against the Lions early in the year. Love Jeff Tumonga Allen. I think he's a great character. Yeah, Aidan Ross. And of course, on the Wallabies side of things, you've got Brendan Payanga Amosa playing. You've got Lukan Salakai Lotto, the other co-captain, alongside David Havili. And I think the big name in this team, somebody who has been on exceptional form, one of the best players in Europe this season, Pete Samu, who's been phenomenal for Bordeaux Beg, and is a proper, like, one of those players that all season you've looked at him and just gone like, I can't wait to see him play Test rugby again. And there's a bit of a Pete Samu-shaped hole in the Wallabies squad.
Yeah, I am amazed the Wallabies haven't called him in. I know they've got obviously the overseas players. Joe Schmidt wanted those rules relaxing, and that became a bit of an issue, but he's been so good for Bordeaux.
Yeah.
I think he has been better for Bordeaux than Will Skelton's been for La Rochelle.
Yeah.
But obviously you want different things in different positions and so on, I get that. But Pete Samu has been one of the players of the year for Bordeaux. Their season only finished about 4 days ago, but I assume what's happened here, right, is Pete Samu was going to play in this, but he's gone home for Australia for a couple of weeks during the 8 days between the top 14 season.
He wants to geography six himself into the opposition.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's doing.
I genuinely think that's what's happened. I think he's gone home for a little lie down. He's seen the game was on. He bought a ticket, and they were like, wait, hold on.
A ticket's been issued to Peter Samu.
Yeah, an alarm goes off. They've got these like hanging out there, waiting.
Have you
like,
considered bringing your boots, Pete?
Yeah. So if you bring your boots, you can have a free ticket.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, cool, I'll be on the bet. No, you're playing 80 minutes.
It's like a first-team player is coming back from injury, turns up to watch the twos.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can come in and play, my friend. Someone's pulled out. Who's pulled out doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Folau Fakatava as well.
Yeah.
You know, been playing very well lately. Lemape, always exciting. AJ Lamb on the wing.
Yeah, that's an exciting one
as
well.
A guy who, again, players who likely won't ever get a crack at the Lions here again. So, like, great to see them.
And he's
having
quick
a
as
shot.
well, AJ Lamb. So, exciting young player.
Matt Phillip adding to the Wallabies on the bench as well. Goes just come back from Japan.
Yeah.
So you've got these throughout the team. It's an exciting lineup.
Yeah. And as well, like on the bench, we've got Jock Campbell again, who had a crack earlier. Got Harry McLaughlin-Phillips as well, who was really, really good against the Lions earlier in the tour. So, yeah, it's a very exciting lineup.
Yeah. I think this might be ramshackle and mad and a bit all over the place.
Yes, it will.
I think there'll be a lot of knock-ons, but probably a lot of tries.
Yeah. As I say, I think it will be a proper Barbars approach to the game. So,
which is exciting, a week before the first test.
Hell yeah.
We essentially get a Barbars game in the middle.
Hell
with James Ryan playing.
And Tane Edmed playing.
Yeah. And Aidan Ross.
Yeah.
So, do you think this game matters at all with test contention?
For certain individuals, yes.
Yeah.
To highlight those, I guess Jack Morgan, Sione Tuipulotu, Hugh Jones are kind of the main ones, but then also mentions to like Tyke Byrne, Henry Pollock, Mack Hansen, Hugo Keenan as well. Definitely Hugo Keenan.
Do you think it matters for test contention for the Anzac team?
Maybe for Pete Samu.
Yeah.
I would love that. Would be a great story if that happened, but who knows?
Yeah. Where is Jacinda Arden? Why is she not in this team?